Hello YouTube, welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Chiz, my pronouns are they, them, and I do things on here sometimes. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made my hat. It's all hand sewn, no sewing machine required, because I can't tell you the amount of times people comment on my videos being like, I wish I could do that, but I don't have a sewing machine. So if that's you, this video is for you. I hope it helps you, I hope it inspires you. My main goal with this video is to convince at least one person that even though you don't have a sewing machine, you can still do cool DIYs and make some stuff from scratch. So I'm also going to be providing you with the PDF of the exact pattern piece that I use. And I'm going to make it so if you print it on A4 paper, which is like the 8.5 by 11, it's going to be this size. So FYI, my head circumference, which is like how tight I want the hat, is 60 centimeters, okay? So 6-segment hat, you take 60, divide by 6, right? That's how long your base is. So these pieces are going to be 10 centimeters right here, or just about 10 centimeters. I recommend if your measurement is bigger than mine, you could just add another segment. So it's going to be a 7-segment hat for you. If your measurement is smaller than mine, I would just go with 6 segments and put elastic as well. So basically size up in terms of number of segments. It doesn't need to be a different pattern. So that's a few things I'll say about that. The pattern is going to be on Etsy and I'm going to make it donation based. So if you want to support me, you can tip me, but you'll still be able to access it for free. Yeah, okay, so that's pretty much it. That's it. So I'm going to give you a list of materials that you may need. So first of all, you're going to need your fabric. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. My fabric is literally a piece of jacket that I cut off, like this corduroy jacket. Second, you're going to need scissors. You're also going to need your needle and thread and your pattern piece. And some other things that I used that would be nice to have are fabric marker or chalk. So anything to mark your fabric with, it's fabric marker, nothing specific. I've also used Sharpies in the past and I think it's fine. You don't have to have a specific marker, but just something to trace your pattern pieces with, like I'm doing with the chalk. I also used elastic and some metal things to decorate, but I'll talk about that later. So the first step and the hardest step is to cut out your pattern pieces. I find the easiest way to do this is by tracing your pattern piece onto the fabric and then just cutting it out later, which is exactly what I did. I have 6 segments, as you can see. So now the next step is to sew all the segments together. That's literally how you make this hat. So how I did it is you're gonna line up the right sides. So you're gonna have the right sides face each other, or the outside sides are gonna face each other, and you're going to sew along the seam. So my outside side is dark and nice and corduroy, and I have them face each other. And then I just sew along that side that I just traced. So after cutting out your pieces and putting them in the right position, the next step is to sew. So I am using white thread because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. If you want yours to look neater on the inside, you can use a thread that more closely matches your fabric, but I don't really mind. Okay, so this video is not a hand sewing tutorial. There are plenty of those on YouTube though, if you don't know how to hand sew. In fact, I even watched one right before this to refresh my memory on how to hand sew and the strongest stitch I can do and stuff like that. So this is what I have so far. I was literally trying to do it exactly like I had seen in the video. Of course, I will put that video in the description. But it was really simple, just in and out, in and out, in and out. You could totally experiment, which is what I was doing. I feel like each section I sewed together, I sewed differently. And even along the sections, I just tried different stitches. Also, I didn't draw a line to sew along. You can do that if that would be helpful to you. But just because my seam allowance was so little, I feel like if I drew a line, it would have got really messy with the chalk that I have. But yeah, by all means, if that will help you, I recommend it. Okay, so I've gotten to the end and I'm just tying it to secure it. And this is what it looks like from the right side. And I'm pulling it apart pretty hard, and you can kind of see the white thread, which is where if you want it to look neater, you can use thread that matches your project. But I think it's fine. And you're not going to be pulling on it like that. And even if you were, I still think it looks cool. So I'm going to show you how to attach the next section. So you still want to do that same right sides together. And I think the most important thing is to line them up at the bottom, because at the top, they're not all going to meet perfectly. That's just how it works. I don't know why. So you want to make sure the bottoms are lined up straight with each other. And it doesn't matter which side you go, as long as it's the right sides facing each other. So like the outside is facing the outside of each segment. And then you want to get the sides as close as you can get them, like matching to each other. And then you're going to sew same as normal, same thing you did for joining the first two sections. And you're going to go all the way down. So some stats I guess you might care about. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to sew each section together. Total time I spent on making the hat with the decorations and everything was about 4 hours. And I think that's it for stats you might care about. So once I finished, tied it up like normal, and this is what the stitches look like. You can also see the shape of the hat starting to form, like the curves, and it is really cool to like see your progress kind of right away, because this is like the second thing we've stitched together, right? Anyways, the next thing is going to be adding your next segment, segment number 4, and you're going to do it the same way you've been doing, right side to right side, or right sides facing each other. And also, you're going to line it up at the bottom, because you see at the top, I don't know if you noticed it, but at the top of the last segment, it was pretty short compared to the other ones. That's fine. It's going to leave a little hole in the middle, but we're going to close that up like at the end. So don't even worry about that. Just right sides facing each other, line it up at the bottom. And then you're just going to continue this process until you've reached the end of however many segments you're doing. Then when you're done with that, I'll show you how to put like both the edges of the hat together. It's the same principle, right sides facing each other, but I just thought I would demonstrate it because it's pretty important. Okay, so once you're done sewing all your seams together except for the last one, what you're going to do is the same principle, right? The outside sides facing each other. You're just going to fold the hat sort of in on itself. And as usual, you really want to make sure their bottoms are aligned with each other and their sides more so than anything else. Bottom is the most important, and then side. So once you got that figured out, you just sew like normal, and then you're going to end up with something like this, hopefully. Mine has a little hole in the center, but that's all right. The next thing we're going to do is deal with it. So you're going to take another needle and thread, or you can continue using the thread that you used for the last segment if it's long enough. But I ended up having to do it like twice because the section, I went over it a bunch of times to make sure that it never opens in its life. Okay, so I don't know how else to explain this, but you're gonna want to line it up in a way that makes sense. Like, I don't know, I'm just kind of trying different orientations, and then I figure out that, okay, this way works, I guess. And I'm just like sewing, and I'm stitching like so randomly, like I can't really describe it to you. Like, you can see what I'm doing. I'm like making loops and going through it, and then I do that a bunch of times. And I would say basically do this to your heart's content until you feel satisfied. It can also be covered up later, but I didn't cover mine, but actually because I forgot to. I'll probably add a big button to the top, or I might even leave it alone because it doesn't look that bad, and honestly, if I can't see it, I don't care. Alright, and this is what it looked like from the top. And then I just went like to the inside and cut off some of the really long strings, but I didn't cut them all the way down. Alright, so now we have a working framework and you can try it on. I tried mine on, but I didn't record it, and everything fit okay. So now it's time to finish off the raw edge. And what I'm using is this piece of fabric that's like from the bottom of a shirt that I cropped. I always save like my hems of my shirts, and they've come in handy. I'm also using fabric glue to like lay it on there, because if you have sewn two things together, you know how annoying it is when it keeps moving. So fabric glue is just like better pins in my opinion, because oh my gosh, pinning is so annoying. You've heard me say this before. So I'm just gluing the outside part first, which is like the finished part of the like shirt hem. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but you can see what I'm doing and hopefully it makes sense. So I'm gluing the finished edge onto the outside because that's the part that people are gonna see. After the glue dried, I'm using needle and thread for this next part. And I'm using a thread that matches my project this time around because I don't want the white thread showing here. But I'm sewing to like reinforce where the two edges joined. And then now on the raw side of my fabric, of my like shirt hem, I'm making sure that like it goes through and then comes out the other side of the, like, I don't know how to explain it, but basically I'm getting both of the like sides reinforced because I'm starting from the bottom there because like my hem thing is uneven. So I'm starting from the bottom where I could see it on the inside, and then I'm ending at the top where it is on the outside. So it's like super reinforced. And I hope that makes sense by you watching me. Because I am not good at describing things sometimes. But yeah, make sure to go through both of them. Okay, there we go. We are pretty much done with our hat. Now, everything else after this is the fun part. Time for decorations. If you want, you can just stop here. This is what it looks like on the inside. Like I said, if I'd used black thread, it would have been a lot less noticeable. But I think it still looks pretty neat. Now for the decoration, you can pretty much put whatever you want on here. You can put beads, you can put patches, you can put safety pins, studs, spikes. I get all my like spikes from studsandspikes.com and I really love them, and they have a lot of like variety on there. You can also use pendants, but this is the point in the process where like your creativity like makes it unique because everyone's pretty much following the same process, but like how they're gonna deck it out, it's not how you're gonna deck it out. Like it's different for everyone, and I love seeing what people come up with. So if you ever do make this and post it, please tag me. I also wanted to add that I did put some elastic in there, and I like to make my hats a little on the bigger side and then put elastic so it fits more comfortably. And I'll show you how I sewed on the elastic by hand. So first of all, I cut off a small piece and then I figured out like how far it's going to go. And I figured just like for ease, I'm going to make it go like one segment long. So the start and the end points are at the beginning and end of one segment. So I honestly didn't really know how to sew on elastic, so how I do it on my machine is I just stretch it out and like zigzag stitch. But this time around I just kind of like was stretching as I was going, and I would really make sure to sew the beginnings and the end super secure. So I don't know if this is a good explanation, but basically I would put my needle in to like make a stitch, and then I would stretch it, and then I would hold it and kind of like wrap it around my finger if I needed to, and then stitch it in that position while the elastic is stretched out. So like it does the job of being elastic. And then after sewing it again, I went over the whole thing at least one more time just to reinforce it. And it ended up being better than I expected. It turned out really well. See, it's got that stretching action and it looks good. This was my desk while I was decorating my hat, by the way. It was so chaotic, but I was just using most of my spikes and studs from studsandspikes.com and a few safety pins and like a charm from a belt that I don't wear. And this is what I ended up with. I super love it, and I didn't have a black beret until now, and I'm really excited. I'm going to be wearing it a lot, and it's black, so it matches everything. This is what it looks like on the inside, and not so bad if I do say so myself, especially for like a first time attempt. I would probably use my machine in the future because like it's way faster, but I just wanted to do this to show you guys that you can do it. and it's probably easier than you're making it out to be in your head. But yeah, let me know if you want more videos like this, other like a little more accessible sewing videos. All right, I've talked too much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll get out of your hair now.